You can see just from the pictures there, we work on a wide variety and sizes of aircraft. Recently this year, we just finished Metroliner and PC-7 STCs on the fixed wing side, as well as a variety that we're working on the rotorcraft side. Across the board, we have product lines, our smart displays. We have all the sensors and interfaces that make those displays work in a cockpit, pull things from analog or digital systems and into the integrated display world. We also have a radio line, VHF, UHF, VOR, ILS, marker beacon, all in one. And then we have our fixed wing and rotorcraft autopilot lines. If you kind of look at our roadmap, we're currently at our Genesys 2.0, we call it. If you look kind of back to the left, you can see the old started with experimental EFIS and the fixed wing autopilot lines, went to the certified EFIS and the fixed wing autopilot, and then we've expanded to the rotorcraft autopilot and a little wider display and sensor capabilities. We're in the midst of our development on our kind of the 3.0 environment, where we're adding to that capability towards an advanced digital co-pilot, adding extra sensors, extra displays, interfaces to the cockpit and things like that. And then we do have a future path towards simplified vehicle operations, optionally piloted, and then a whole new display environment with a different architecture. So, kind of at a top level, those are the things we're working on as a company. And what I should have said was, if you guys have any questions, feel free to interrupt at any time. Just from the introductions, though, I'm probably going to need somebody from the front row to repeat what people are saying in the back. It was pretty hard to hear them.
Will do.
And then, on the fixed wing application, so we do our autopilots all not just through STCs. We also work through some OEMs as well, where they're part of the total package on a variety, particularly larger aircraft. In particular, for instance, HAL in India is one of our bigger customers. We're in all of their medium-sized transport airplanes. And then, for example, Grobe out of Germany, we're in cockpit and autopilot together in their airplanes. Which, by the way, I just got to go fly with them over there a couple of weeks ago and absolutely love those training aircraft. There's a few in the US. If you get a chance, it's well worth getting to fly those things. So you're familiar with the STEC 3100 autopilot. That's our key current product that we have that we're currently doing STCs with. And again, it can be standalone or integrated with an EFIS. Has essentially all of the capabilities for a full integrated autopilot. And this autopilot works across Part 23 and Part 25 aircraft. And I can share these slides with Don, but I'm sure you know the technical side behind it. So what's the Part 23 STC process? So we have to do a certification project to get an STC on an aircraft. So essentially, we start with getting a leased aircraft to support the program. We then have to develop a drawing package, flight manual supplement, installation procedures, get ODA, FAA approval of all the documentation, have to go through, after the flight testing is done, we have to go through software certification of the control law configuration for that aircraft. The flight test program itself, we go through 3 different phases of flight testing. We go through development flight testing. Then we have to do the company certification testing to show compliance, and then formal FAA TIA flight testing. The majority of the time, the FAA delegates that. We're able to do that 100% on the Part 23 projects with our ODA. but sometimes the FAA comes in and participates in that. And that covers the full envelope of the aircraft. Usually it's in the 30 to 40 flight hours that it takes to do that. And then depending on weather and the complexity of the aircraft and FAA scheduling, that can take between 3 to 6 months to get that done. So, and again, I had to go sit down with the business development and the sales guys to understand all of this, but essentially with all of the cost that goes into the certification process, it usually works out to essentially they have to get 20 sales of the STC to break even on the cost of it. So that's why they try to get commitment from 20 buyers up front, and they're also looking for a type, a model of an aircraft that has additional opportunity to continue to sell that STC over the years so that they can eventually develop profit out of the effort that went into getting that STC. So we are currently booked through 2025. I know the BD guy said, sales guy told Don that there's a possibility we could address this in 2026. But, so you can see the example of the aircraft that we have on the schedule for 2025 with our small team. We are going to be extremely tight, and we do not have the capacity right now to take on another STC project in 2025. So it's essentially the same team working all of those aircraft, fixed wing and rotary wing. So I think that was really all of the prepared slides I had, and would be interested to discuss or answer any questions you have.
How many people did we get committing to the 3100?
How many people did we get committing to the 3100 development? Were you able to hear that, Greg?
Yeah, I do not know that. I was kind of hoping you guys would know that. It sounded like what I heard before was that you'd never been able to get up to 20 commitments.
Yeah.
We had 20 raise their hand, but how many were deposited?
20 put deposits dealers to proceed with the project.
Okay. So they, I don't know if you could hear that, but they said there were 20 people who actually placed deposits with dealers.
Okay.
Be part of the program.
But they
My understanding is that the sales rep we were working with retired or left just as we got to the 20, and it never materialized with his replacement, whoever that was.
You able to hear that?
No.
So the sales and marketing person from Genesys apparently retired just as we reached critical mass, and then it just disappeared. And I don't know his name. Yeah. But whoever was repping it to the group, because I think we did have visits at the various fly-ins, retired about the time that we were reaching the 20 mark.
Okay. Well, I think we can restart that discussion if there's still that level of interest. I know Don has my contact info. We've roped in our new sales guy who's responsible for the Part 23 STCs. He was unable to join today, but he is in contact with Don, and we can start that discussion if there's interest to try and address that in the 2026 timeframe.
Now, is the 3100 series fully digital, or do you have D-Day converters, ADD converters as necessary to work with any existing servos and that sort of thing, or does it start from scratch, all new equipment?
I believe it can work with some of the existing. If you have the older models, there's an upgrade kit that is able to be installed.
So if you had existing S-Tech, let's say servos, that kind of stuff, but you're primarily shifting brains.
Let me get let me get a better answer for you on that. What I do remember is that we have there was some sort of upgrade program where if you had an existing autopilot, the cost was somewhat lower and there was an upgrade, but I can't remember if that was a trade-in of existing servos and replacement with all new ones, or if there was integration with the existing servos.
Okay, thank you.
So, quick question. This might be more for the gurus in the room. Why the STEC 3100, or why this Genesys product? Why? So I went from Century 3B and I put an STEC 50 in mine about 5 years ago, and it's very adequate. Is there a reason the 3100's being pursued rather than other current products?
Is the 3100 more friendly to some of the newer navigators and touchscreen control boxes and things like that versus 50 versus the 50-2, what have you?
The 3100 is fully integrated with essentially all of the current EFISs that are out there, flight displays and navigators. So it's integrated with our systems, with Garmin's, and then several of the other existing systems.
So is the 50?
We do no longer make any of our older autopilots, we sell existing STC. We still sell boxes for the STEC 55 and provide customer support for some of the older ones, but we don't do new STCs for anything but the 3100 because we're trying to phase out the older models. Their production, there's a lot of challenges with obsolescence of the parts on the 55.
Is the 55 product in danger of being orphaned because of lack of spares?
Not right now. For the next at least 5 years, we just did another review of components and obsolescence review and did some long lead time purchases. And so then essentially we'll have to look at it in the next couple of years as to whether we would need to do a redesign. But right now there was no intent to sunset that system because it's a very widespread. We have a lot of customers currently flying that system that we need to continue to support.
Good for you. There are certain brands that don't do that. So yeah. Any other questions? Greg, thank you very much for your information. We appreciate it.
All right, and appreciate your time. And our hangar at the Mineral Wells Airport is always open if anybody wants to stop by and poke their head in and say hello. We're always interested in seeing customers and potential customers by the hangar. So hope to see you guys sometime, and enjoy your weekend and conference. Thank you.
All right, thanks very much, Greg. Appreciate it.